Hello class, welcome back to the Chong channel. We're looking at January 2020 Geometry Regents, question numbers 14 and 27. They both have to deal with rectangular prism density. Okay, so let's look at number 14. Lou has a solid clay brick in the shape of a rectangular prism with the length of 8 inches, a width of 3.5 inches, and a height of 2.25 inches. If the clay weighs 1.055 ounce per cubic inches, how much does Lou's brick weigh to the nearest ounce? Alright, so I took some notes on the side. So we have a clay brick. We know that it's in the shape of a rectangular prism. They gave us the dimensions. We have length is 8, width is 3.5, height is 2.25, and the clay weighs. Now this seems to be a common misconception for students. When they see the word weighs, they think that's the mass. No, they're saying the clay weighs 1.055 ounce per cubic inch. This really means density. So when they say this, when it's in ounce per cubic inches, they mean density. So you need to remember the density formula. So once again, density is mass over volume. So mass is another word for weight. So we're going to plug in the clay's density, and that was 1.055. We copy down W for weight because that's the whole point of the problem. And then we found volume. So we got to take a step back and look at the volume. How do you find the volume of any prism? It's capital BH. Capital B is the shape of the base, and the base is a rectangle, and we have to find the area of a rectangle, so it's length times width. So the volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times h. So you plug in all the information from the notes here, and then we got 63 cubic inches. So that's the volume of the brick, which is in the shape of a rectangular prism. So we plug that in where it says volume. So when you're solving algebraic equations and you want that variable by itself, you have to perform the opposite operation. Here it's divide. So the opposite of divide is multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides by 63. So it cancels here. So when you multiply these two numbers, we get weight of the brick is 66.465 ounces. Now the question did say we have to round to the nearest ounce, and nearest ounce means whole number. So you underline the last digit of the whole number, look at the next number. If that number is 5 or more, you round up. If not, you keep it the same. So we keep it the same, so it is choice 1. Alright, now let's look at the next problem. So we're looking at question number 27. So once again, it is dealing with a rectangular prism. It's amazing on how on January 2020, there's already 4 Regents questions on prisms and non-prisms. Alright, so the problem reads as follows. A rectangular tabletop will be made of maple wood that weighs 43 pounds per cubic foot. So when they say weighs 43 pounds per cubic foot, that is another word for density. A tabletop will have the length of 8 feet, a width of 3 feet, and a thickness of 1 inch. So this may be where some of you might struggle with. What is thickness? We'll talk about that soon. Determine and state the weight of the tabletop in pounds. So we want to find weight just like in the other problem. So I drew a rectangular prism. I mean, it's not necessary, but I drew it so you can understand what they meant by this thickness of 1 inch. So if you remember in all my videos, I try to keep my color coordination match, and yellow represents the 2 congruent bases. So in this case, the yellow here, that's my base of this rectangular prism. Now, This is the length, 8 feet. This is the width, 3 feet. And now if you remember me telling you h, I really don't like calling it height. I call h the distance between the two bases. So in this case, when they talk about the thickness, they're actually talking about h, or the distance between the two congruent yellow rectangle bases. Now, if you notice, the problem has some inconsistencies. Here we have foot, and then here the thickness is mentioned in inches. So what does this mean? If my density is in the units of foot, then that means I gotta change my 1 inch into foot. So 12 inches equals 1 foot, so that means 1 inch, I gotta divide that by 12, so that means 1 inch is 1 over 12 feet. I didn't change it to a decimal because it looked ugly, so let me leave it as a fraction. So now let's go back to finding the volume. So volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times h. So I plug in the information. I have the length, the width, and the height that we changed into feet. And when you multiply all these together, we got 2 cubic feet. So that's the volume of the tabletop. So now we have density equals mass over volume. Mass is another word for weight, which is what we're trying to find. So 43, that's the density they gave us in the problem. 43 equals weight over 2. 2 is the volume we just solved. Opposite of divide is multiply. And what you do on the right, you do to the left. So 2 times 43 is 86, and so the weight of the tabletop is 86 pounds. I hope that helped. Goodbye.